For years, I thought that nobody knew. I mean, the truth was, I didn't even really know. I didn't know myself that I was being trafficked until I was in my 20s, so how could anyone else have known? I found out years later that people did know, and when I look back, I see all the signs were there.
I remember the first day of her freshman year. Dark hair, big brown eyes, sweet smile. She was timid. Another teacher said she knew her grandmother and that she was moved to our school because she was having a hard time. I never knew how bad it was until it was too late. That year, she came in with an older boyfriend. I was shocked to realize he was 27. It seemed to give her this confidence, but in a bad way. She didn't engage with others during lunch because she was on the phone with him. She almost seemed isolated. She always seemed to have new expensive gifts from him that she showed off to her friends, but they always seemed like a band-aid for something. Throughout that year, things got worse. She went from obsessed with him to completely detached from the rest of the world. She would get up and leave in the middle of class, saying she was going to the bathroom, and then be gone for days. Usually, her grandmother would report her running away to the police, and they would find her. When she came back to school, she hadn't slept in days. I would let her sleep in my classroom during lunch. I didn't know how else to help. The school nurse said that she was on heavy medication to curb the behaviors, but nothing seemed to be getting better. She would still leave, sometimes getting on the back of different motorcycles or leaving in different cars with men that pulled up to the school. When she returned, she would not have her school uniform, and I would find her piecing things together with clothes out of the lost and found. The end of freshman year, I heard her boyfriend got put in jail. The next year, she was a different person. She was engaged in class, making straight A's, laughing with friends, and full of life. I thought we had her back. But it all changed when I saw him pull up to school. He was back, and she was gone. Things went downhill quickly. Her behavior became more extreme than her freshman year, disappearing again for days on end. Always returning looking worse than she left. I began to hear from other students that her boyfriend had her sleeping with other men for money. She came to class with a black eye, dismissing the cause as a fight with her boyfriend. I would see her withdrawal in class with visible anxiety as she picked her skin to the point it would bleed. Her sunken eyes looked sad. But then her phone would ding with a text. She would walk out, and I could see her going into character as she would walk out the door to yet another motorcycle parked outside the school. Looking back, I knew what was happening, but I had never heard about trafficking. Looking back, I wish I had believed the stories she would tell me that seemed so extreme that I dismissed them. I wish I had known to tell her that her boyfriend was grooming her, that this behavior were classic behaviors for trauma bonding. I wish I had done a lot. But by mid-junior year, she had run off again, lost to nearly a decade more of being sold.
My name is Alia, and this is my story. It's not enough to just know my story. We have to take a step beyond awareness to understand how to identify trafficked individuals and feel equipped to report suspected trafficking. So let's walk through what those in the school setting could have seen during my trafficking experience. They could have seen that I was in a controlling relationship where I was given expensive gifts but forced into isolation. The school could have reported to Child Protective Services when I went missing for days on end with an older man. When I returned from times that I was gone for days, they could have seen that I was dressed inappropriately or had to borrow clothes to meet school requirements, or that I was exhausted and falling asleep in class. Kids spread rumors, but teachers could have noticed the incessant murmuring that I was a prostitute. But it is important to note that there is no such thing as a child prostitute. If a child is being sold for commercial sex, they are a sex trafficking victim. When my phone would ding in class, my boyfriend had booked a buyer to pick me up from school, with instructions for me to play into their schoolgirl fantasies. The teachers could have seen the signs of self-harm, anxiety, or abuse manifest on my body, or how I lied to minimize what was happening to me or what I had done to myself. Most of the times the school stepped in to address my behavior, it was to address the drug or alcohol use, but they never asked why I was using substances. They missed that it was to numb myself to all that was happening. The school nurse or teachers could have seen that the heavy medications I was prescribed to curb my behavior was not working, because my issue was not mental health related, it was trauma related. Teachers could have noticed that the swing in behaviors, from rebellious and disconnected one year to engaged and thriving in school the next, and then back to rebellious the following year, could have pointed to external factors that were contributing to my actions. With all of the trauma I went through while I was trafficked in high school, I barely remember my time there. But I do remember the teacher who cared. She poured so much time into me, she spoke to me quietly and alone, she let me eat lunch in her classrooms, and she went the extra mile to show me she wanted me there. But she was not equipped to help me get out, or to see what was really happening to the child who was just going down a bad path. As a 14-year-old girl, I had never heard the term sex trafficking, and maybe the adults around me hadn't either. If they had known what to look for, they could have advocated for me. That is why it is important for teachers to be on watch and know the signs and indicators of child sex trafficking. When teachers know what to look for in the kids they already care so much about, they can change a child's life.